So, hitting the resource phase, we've got a lot of events out here. The city's in trouble, so it almost makes sense this is the last turn. The Ventru, who's current regent, used their Prestige Thief. They drew another card, which isn't going to help except as a bonus in die rolls. Gangrel added Brass Knuckles. Over here, this guy, he discarded some stuff. He's got a handful of cards that would all work well together if he could play them all, but he can't play them all without using something, so instead he just held them for bonuses, and he's using this to control somebody's movement. He's going to try to hose one of the leading players, he's not sure who yet, by controlling their movement. Over here, draws were pretty much just for cards that don't really help, just bonus cards. But the thing is, nobody has to feed themselves. They can go into torpor at the end of the turn and still be prince. Final one here, drew a card, and he actually discarded a card to draw his Intelligence Dossier, which allows him to get an extra die in a challenge, or an influence contest. But, wow, we got a pile of new things here. Strained Vitae Supply. This is going to make it so people can't hunt more than once per phase. Would have been a big deal in the middle of the game, but at this point it doesn't matter. Danse Macabre. This is going to cause the regent to lose 2 personal prestige and every other player to lose 1. It's a prince from another city threatening them. It's got a social of 24, which is pretty powerful to defeat. It's going to be hard to get people to agree to let you do this unless you're in the back of the victory points. And the only person who's really helped by defeating it is probably the regent. Drunken Vandal. This is going to cause equipment to be destroyed. That's probably not that big a deal. Impounded Assets. This is a territorial. Local mortal authorities are tying up resources they deem illegal. This is going to reduce the amount of cards that a person can hold by 1, which is 2 and 4. So it doesn't say when this takes effect. I'm guessing, and it was the last one drawn just now, that this is going to take effect immediately. People are going to have to discard cards. We're in the resource phase, so they can do that. We're at 2-4 here. This guy can drop 1. The Project's Airport or the Master of Mortal Affairs. None of them really help him to play. Just throw the projects down. It's not going to make a difference. This guy's got to get rid of stuff. He's got an extra. Social challenge isn't too big a deal. What about the library? He has this, and this allows him to roll a single dice in a mental challenge, re-roll it. Or he could do the social. Social's worth a couple of points. He'll drop the library. Doesn't feel like actually having that's going to help too much, because he's not going to do mental challenges. He's fairly weak. A re-roll isn't terribly valuable. Now over here, mental challenges. We don't think any of these are going to be a big deal to get rid of, so we're going to get rid of that one. So some cards had to go away because of one of the events, and that's kind of a problem. Just towards culling the hands that had gotten kind of to max size. Alright, well now we go to the movement, and the Ventru are the regents, and I think because of that fact, and they're a little ahead in points, the Mechhead are going to move them. And they're going to move them into kind of the heart of, hey, where he is fine. We're going to force him to stay in the harbor. It doesn't give him a lot of power, and it may undermine some of his ability to withstand attacks. It also puts him right up against the Gangrel for fighting, and that's going to be kind of potent. So now we're going to move other people, and I'll come back with the challenges or something. Oh boy, I'm realizing this is the maquette, this is the Ventru. The Ventru couldn't have placed a piece here. I don't know where the hell they're going to place this now at this point. I guess they'd slide it into the asylum and get themselves an extra point there. They had the extra play, but definitely the case that we wanted to move them here. Now the Mechat themselves, where are they going? I don't know yet, but I've already moved the Gangrel over here to attack blue. So for the challenges, the Ventru failed in their attempt to do a social challenge against the Mechat. The Gangrel, on their own, did a territorial challenge against this strained Vitae. And then we had sort of a conglomeration of the trailing players. First, the Daiva led the Nosferatu and the Mechat on a territorial challenge against the impounded assets. And finally, the Nosferatu, using their intelligence dossier, managed to defeat the modern Inquisition. You'll see all the trailing players have made up a lot of ground. They're actually kind of in it now after this kind of agreement to expand their power in this way. Well, we're going to come to counters, and our red player, Daiva, have only 3. The Nosferatu get a bonus 1 for their control of the industrial area, which gives them 4. The Ventru still have the religious area. That'll give them 4. The Gangrel. It looks like they've snuck their way into the government, but they don't quite have the transport, so they're going to get 4 to play with. Now, in the 2-player game I played, it was very possible for one person to get kind of on a roll and just overwhelm the other person in terms of areas of the city they held. I think that's almost impossible in this, not just because there's so many people competing over the different areas, but because there's such an ability to knock someone down. When we go to the Mechat, they have not quite... So their challenge took a counter away in the financial sector, and now that's no longer owned by the Ventru. We actually have the Gangrel in the lead because of that. But the Mechat have not taken an area, so they're only going to get 3 tokens. They're basically looking at they want it to get control of that. It's probably not enough to win them the game. Really only the Nosferatu, I would say, are in that position where maybe they can push their way ahead. But we'll see. I think it's between the 2 lead players, but everybody else is going to take their shot at it, and maybe something will happen. All right, well, I guess we start playing chips over with the Ventru. Do we want... So the Ventru's main goal here is to try to knock the Gangrel down. They can't really do that. Their positioning isn't good for managing it. They can extend into the museum, but there's a lot of people who can contend with them there, and it's not a valuable territory. The harbor isn't all that valuable. Well, it isn't valuable. They could save their chits to defend here, but that would then allow the Gangrel to expand against other people. So, I think what they're going to do is they're going to drop 2 chits into the nightclub circuit and see if they can take control of the pink area. Well, they can't get the whole area. They've only got 4 chits, and that won't allow it. They can, of course, just drop a challenge counter in the mosque and start the fight with the Gangrel there early. So here's the thing. Is that where the Gangrel really want to play? Do they want to knock blue out of an area, or are they looking to pad their own points? I think they'd rather let blue waste a piece, and they'll let them move into the mosque with that. So now we go to the Gangrel, and they really want the harbor. And that's where they're going to play. The only people who can contend with them are the ventru and the meket. And it doesn't really matter who's where. The gangrel have the transportation magnet and a lot of bonuses. We want to get the ventru as being involved in it, of course. They're going to play a token. The question here is, how much do the meket want to be involved in this? Well, if we let them in, we have to give an additional token if we want that point. That point's not really important to me as the ventru, and it's not really important to the meket. The only important thing here is to prevent the gangrel from taking it. Well, right now the gangrel have the advantage. They have a +7, but they lose 4 for this token, so they have a +3 to the dice. I don't really think that the ventru are going to be able to expand. And we're hoping someone else can take them down. So we'll go in with a second. This is really valuable to the gangrel. They'll go in with a second. I don't think that the ventru can keep playing in this. So like I said, it's going to be +3. 2 dice each. And far and away, the gangrel win this one. And that's going to get them 4 points of influence immediately. 1 for the harbor and 3 for the area. And this makes things ugly for everyone. And now the gangrel get to pick an area. Well, breaking up the area held by the ventru looks valuable, but I probably can't manage that. So at this point, with the point spread the way it is, I'm going to pass with the gangrel. They can't play anymore. That puts it on the meket, who have a long way to go, and they feel kind of boned by what they allowed to have happen. But they really need to blast into the financial sector here. So they're going to drop a piece there. The ventru see no reason to try. So we've got 3 dice for the meket against 2 for the ventru. A +2 for +5, +8 for the meket. And it looks very likely they'll get that extra piece. And indeed they do quite easily. And that's enough to get them 3 points for the financial district and 3 points for controlling the entire business area. Okay, so that puts us now over to the diva. And well, the diva would like to get this back. They're facing 4 dice. They can't take it. They only have 3 counters. They just can't knock those out of there. So now it becomes, well, what can they take of value? They can't take the green area. That would take 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces. What about the blue area? They're pretty close here. That'll give them 1, but they need 3 tokens to take that, and they can't take that. So now it becomes, well, what can I get that's cheap? And I'm going to go into Chinatown. I don't think anybody's going to oppose me particularly there. Well, yeah, that's probably the best, as good a place as any. And we'll just take that and grab our point. It's not going to, that kind of play is not going to get us the win, though. Over to the Nosferatu. Well, now we're behind everyone here, and we have to break up one of these big sections. We can't just jump into the harbor or into the court section. Well, we can hit in here. City Hall looks somewhat vulnerable. Let's go for that. We want to put at least 2 tokens into City Hall. So now we're at 2 dice to 1 against the gangrel. They don't have anyone here, and we don't either, really. the government aid of red can come to the advantage here, I believe. So, if we allow red to support us, we can get that in. But then they could throw tokens in as well in our attack. They don't really want to throw tokens in, so we're going to go with 2 dice against 1 in the City Hall region. Green, can they defend it? Yeah, I think they can. It's now 2-2 with a +3 in favor of the government agent, but actually +5 because red's in there. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, so it's really an even fight. Now, green's last piece is yet another defensive piece, so that's what we're going to go with here. Is 2 dice against 2 dice, with the Nosferatu being red, I guess. And the Nosferatu get a good roll at 12, 20. That's not beatable. So the green extra piece doesn't go in, and City Hall is going to fall. Now that's 6 points gone for green, and 3 points gained for the Nosferatu. Alright, now we end up with the Ventru, and they only have 1 piece left. There's not much they can do with it, but there is something. They can throw it in here at the rail station and try to improve their attack on green and drop green a little below them. And that's what they're going to do. It's 1 die on 1 die. They can invite the Mekhet in, and the Mekhet say, yeah, I'll come in. They're not going to put any counters in, but they are going to put their +4 bonus in play. Okay, so now the Gangrel are at, well, the combination is at +1 against the Gangrel. Can the Gangrel hold this? If they can't, they're falling behind everyone. They're falling behind the Ventru at the very least, and maybe down into the realm, well, actually below the Mekhet. So they need this, but there's still tokens left that can be played to attack them, to drive them down. Do they want to play a token here? Do they want to try to defeat the Ventru somewhere? They don't think they can beat the Ventru straight up, so they're going to throw a token in. Now at this point the Mekhet could throw one in, but they don't want to. So now it's 1 die against 2. Right? And +1 to that single die. There's just no one else who can help directly. That +1 though, it's got a 10 to begin with, a 17. That single die works. It knocks the second Gangrel out, and that's a 5-point swing against the Gangrel again. Again. So they're now down to 25 and kind of at the bottom of the pack, no longer a threat with no counters. Now it's the Mekhet. Can they pass the Ventru at this point? That's their view. In order to do so, they'd really have to break someplace that the Ventru hold, I think. And that's going to be tough, because the only thing where there's real points for the Ventru is here. Okay. Other than that, I'd need a 3-point area to even get a tie. Is there anywhere where there's something that valuable that I can grab as the Mekhet? Certainly not up here. And not down here. I just am not invested in the most valuable areas, which makes this very difficult. This is a 2-point area. That's not going to really help. I need something better. And there isn't anything better. So I'm kind of stuck with I can't get any better than I am. Given that, I don't know what to hit. You know, I can slam into this and drive the Nosferatu back further and go for a second place finish because I cannot beat the Nosferatu the way I am. So that's what we're going to do. The Meket are going to go after the industrial works, and this is a real threat to the Nosferatu here. Whatever they have, I don't have much that I can use, so that's 2 dice against 1, but plus 4 for the Nosferatu. The Nosferatu have a lot of ground they got to gain. They're going to hope they can just win this. It's 9-14. They got beat, which means the Meket are able to place their pieces. And that's 5 points off the Nosferatu. And 2 points in favor of the Meket, putting them deep into location. And now... And it's funny because somebody removed the thing that dropped the Inquisition, which would have taken a point away from the Ventru. Granted, they got a lot of points for doing that, but... Okay, so now we go back to the dive up. And where are they going? Well, they're so far behind. There's not much they can really gain. They know the Nosferatu want to come back up there maybe, or somewhere else. We've just got so much we've got to be defeated, or we've got to take out of play, and there's really no way to get anywhere. So, without any more counters for most other players, I'm kind of looking at, well, what can I do? I can't get a win anywhere, but a win isn't the only possibility. Maybe passing the Gangrel would be worthwhile for me. So, there's the police department, and I'll drop 2 counters into there. That's going to give 3-2. I have the government aid, which gives me +3, +4, and they have +3, +4, so it's even up there. And I get an extra die. And I think this is the best thing I can do, try to pass someone. And I do. I'm at 14-12, so I get to put these into the police department, and that's a 6-point swing. 3 for me, and 3 for the Gangrel. Well, we swing around. All we have left is the Nosferatu, and they really don't have much to do except maybe pass the Gangrel. There's just not that much value for them. Getting back into here is their best move far and away. Too bad for the Meket and as far as being in second place. But I'm going to take 3 dice to the Meket's 2. I have +3. Is transportation an issue in either one? Not really. So it's 3 dice +3. And I got a big roll with a 10 in there. Easily get in there. And that swings 2 points away from the Meket and gives me 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is actually really where we are. We've got the Danse Macabre, the Regent. Oh no, this one didn't go away. Okay, so essentially everyone's going to lose 1 personal prestige, except the Regent, who was the Ventru. They lose 2. And then the Drunken Vandal takes something away. Now, I'm not sure when the victory points happen. I may have screwed up with this. He may be on the ground dying, and then we would have the Meket winning. If so, that was just a screw up in terms of not realizing the rules. I believe the Ventru won. They could have not made their challenge that they lost, or that didn't have an effect. And they certainly would have. No, they wouldn't have played. Anyway, they wouldn't have taken as many cards, but taken a blood. Let me make sure we've got this in the right place. When do you win? I don't know. You know, this is kind of the issue. This damn thing is just so tough. So I'm saying, well, I wouldn't have left myself at 1 if the rules were that way. If not, whatever. I mean, it doesn't really make a difference. But anyway, it ended up as kind of a close game because there's this ability to gather together with the players who are losing and work towards solving one of these event problems. But on the other hand, it's really tough to beat somebody on the city influence once they start rolling there. And surprisingly though, the Mecca they felt like they were far behind early in the game, and they managed to gain into second place really and maybe make a stab at it. The Gangrel were in the lead at the beginning of this turn, or second place, but at one point in the turn they were well in the lead. But they got knocked down pretty easily because if you can take away that 3-point bonus and a decent zone, you can get a big point swing on someone. The scores are close enough that it doesn't really make much difference. I can see why you wouldn't want to play, and this goes down by the way, I can see why you wouldn't want to play less than 6 turns. More than 6 turns? Yeah, sure. The game's gotten to the point where there's a little bit more room for fighting. I'm not sure how much longer you'd want to play this, right? But it seems like it's more fun, I think, in more people. Anyway, I'll come back with a review and load this one up.